So think about this for a second. How does a developing nation actually harness the massive power of the AI revolution without getting completely left behind in the global race? It's a pretty huge question facing emerging economies right now. Because, as AI advances at absolute lightning speed, that gap between tech-forward nations and everybody else is threatening to widen. But what if a country could essentially leapfrog all those traditional development hurdles by baking AI right into its core infrastructure?
Well, enter Nepal's newly drafted National Artificial Intelligence Policy 2082. And let me tell you, this is definitely not just some fluffy theoretical set of guidelines. It's a definitive, aggressive blueprint designed to take a highly traditional economy and turn it into a resilient digital powerhouse. It's mapping out a sweeping vision to completely overhaul how the entire nation handles technology, governance, and economic growth.
So today, we're going to take a deep dive into this visionary blueprint. We're going to unpack the exact strategies, the wildly fast timelines, and the really fascinating institutional frameworks the Nepali government has actually committed to. It's a perfect case study on how an emerging economy plans to rapidly adapt and thrive in the age of AI.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with Nepal's AI growth strategy, then look at how they're powering the digital economy. After that, we'll cover AI governance and ethical use, and finally wrap up with a summary of Nepal's AI future. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Nepal's AI growth strategy. The very first major metric here is all about the economy. The government is aiming to boost the IT sector's contribution to the national GDP by an additional 1%, entirely through AI. They are planning to integrate artificial intelligence across the board, just to squeeze out every drop of productivity they can.
And keeping that momentum going, the second big target is all about global positioning. The policy sets a very clear objective: propel Nepal into the top 50 tier of the global AI Readiness Index. Now that's a massive leap. To pull that off, they're going to need sweeping upgrades to digital infrastructure, cloud services, and supercomputing power. Basically, it's a giant neon sign telling the world that Nepal is open for high-tech business. But how do they actually power a leap like that? Well, the policy dictates a plan to generate 5,000 highly skilled AI professionals in just 5 years. 5 years! To support that kind of insane demand for human capital, they're setting up specialized AI excellence centers across every single province in the country. They want baseline AI literacy everywhere, starting with school kids and going all the way up to the current workforce. Moving right along to Section 2, powering the digital economy. Let's look at how this high-level strategy translates into real everyday life. Take agriculture, a massive traditional sector. They're mandating AI for things like smart irrigation and predictive pest tracking. In healthcare, it's all about early disease detection using genomic analysis. Over in finance, AI is going to crack down on money laundering, and for transport, we're talking smart grid energy routing. It is literally a systemic, top-to-bottom upgrade. But actually, what's most fascinating here is how Nepal is leveraging its own unique geography. For instance, they plan to use the high-altitude Himalayan regions to build naturally cooled data centers. I mean, using a freezing climate to save energy on servers, that is brilliant. They're also launching these brain gain programs to lure tech-savvy expats back home. When you combine that with smart manufacturing automation and adaptive learning in classrooms, you can really see this highly tailored, unique ecosystem taking shape. Which brings us to Section 3, AI governance and ethical use. Because let's be real, you absolutely cannot have this kind of aggressive innovation without establishing some serious guardrails. The real trick is balancing innovation with regulation. On the innovation side, you've got AI incubation hubs, open data portals for startups, new venture capital frameworks. It sounds great, right? But on the regulatory side, they are matching that energy with strict data privacy laws, tight cybersecurity standards, and proactive deepfake mitigation. And the whole thing is rooted in UNESCO's guidelines for ethical AI, so accountability isn't just tossed in at the end. Now, to strike that balance without totally suffocating new startups, they are utilizing a really clever mechanism, the regulatory sandbox. If you haven't heard the term, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a controlled testing environment. It basically lets developers safely play around and test disruptive AI systems using real data, but without immediately getting slammed by typical regulatory red tape. It's how Nepal can safely test cutting-edge tech while still fostering homegrown innovation. And overseeing this whole shebang is the AI Regulatory Council. If you look closely at the framework, there is a very deliberate focus on inclusivity here.
The council actually requires experts from the private sector and universities, and they explicitly mandate female representation. So you're guaranteeing that the rules of the road are shaped by diverse voices, not just a bunch of bureaucrats in a vacuum. Okay, finally, Section 4. A quick summary of Nepal's AI future. Because a policy is only as good as its execution, right? Well, they are wasting zero time. The timeline is incredibly aggressive. Within just 3 months, they plan to have the Regulatory Council and a national AI center up and running. Within a year, finalize complex tech standards. And in 2 years, they plan to draft and pass comprehensive data protection laws. It's a full sprint. But ultimately, the whole strategy loops back to one core philosophy. The official vision statement literally reads, building a human-centric, ethical, and prosperous Nepal through artificial intelligence. The emphasis is so clear here. The ultimate goal isn't just about cool tech. It's about human prosperity and lifting society up. The AI is just the vehicle getting them there, and it's being carefully steered by ethics. Nepal has charted out a beautifully structured, highly ambitious path. They are turning geographic hurdles into high-tech advantages and using bold policy to leap into the future. The rest of the world is going to be watching this execution very closely. So it leaves us with one final thought to chew on. Will this visionary blueprint actually become the absolute gold standard for developing nations everywhere? Only time will tell, for sure. But the foundation they've just laid down is undeniably fascinating.